to episode 2 of Can You Tell Me What It Is? And I have 3 items today that I'm going to show you. The first one I know you'll recognize, but it's more what kind it is than what it is. So let me show you this first. I know that probably everybody in the world can recognize what kind of a bottle this is. It is a Coke bottle, and it is actually from Scottsbluff, Nevada. No, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, excuse me. If you live in Scottsbluff, I'm sorry, Nebraska, I'm sorry. This is from your town or city. All right, so let me give you 4 ideas of what this might be, and you tell me what you think, okay? I gotta take these off. I can't see up close with it to read my notes. Okay, in World War II, in an effort to save glass for the war effort, Coca-Cola stopped embossing the name around the middle of the bottle. Their logo, they did away with it. And the reason they did away with it is because it was an effort to save glass for the war drive. Now, it's what collectors call a naked Coke bottle. And I'm showing you another one too while I'm saying this that shows you how how it should actually look. All right, number 2. In the early 1960s, Coca-Cola experimented with painted labels rather than embossed glass. They went back to the embossed logo, but years later, the painted bottles returned. So this is one of those experimental bottles on which all the paint has worn off. It was actually dug up in my sister's, one of my sister's vacant lots by her grandson, Brandon. Number 3. This is quite simply an error bottle that got past inspectors as much as error coins or error stamps get past inspectors in the mint. And this is an error bottle that got past the inspectors, really not that old. And then 4, my traditional standby. Each of those answers is a darn lie, and you get to tell me if I'm as big a liar as I think I am, or as one of the first 3, the answer to what this is. And I'll tell you at the end of the program, okay? Number 2. Now this, number 2 is something that I dug up. And it is a plastic Indian chief and a plastic deer that's missing its front leg, as you can see. Now, can you tell me, my dear friends, what these, where these came from? How did you get these? What were they a part of? Were they a part of some kind of game that you could play, or what? Now, I'm going to show you some close-ups as I give you your wonderful choices that I've written down. Number 1, my friends. In the early to mid-1960s, Mattel Toys put out a creative toy for kids called the Vacuform. And you would slip in various size pieces of plastic sheets. I had one of these. And you'd then put it over a hot mold on the device, and you would get, your form, whatever you're trying to make, that you had a form for. And so you could kick out as many of these toys as your heart desired. Sell them at school, give them away to friends, do whatever you wanted. Like I said, I had a Vacuform, and I got it for Christmas around 1963 or 64, I believe. Number 2, these are 2 out of 5 figures from a 1950s edition of a cowboy and Indian themed Monopoly game. Parents complained it was too violent because if you went to jail, you also were scalped. Okay, but not for real, of course. So from a 1950s Monopoly game for kids, which was cowboy and Indian themed. Then number 3 is the Sweet Treat Cracker Jacks. Have been around for a very, very long time, and I loved them when I was a kid. And over the decades, thousands and thousands of miniature toys were included in the box as a free toy surprise. These are Cracker Jack toys from the mid-1950s that I actually, dug up with my buddy Bill. So that's what these may be. One of them is the right answer. Which one would it? Which one do you all think it is? Now, all right, here's number 3. This is a some type of a badge or emblem. It has on it an embossed Scotsman, upper torso and head and profile, and it says Royal Scots on it. It's an embossed piece. It's not, it's sturdy, but it's still, made out of a cheaper material. I dug this up, and I've got 3 choices for you on what this is. All right, so here we go. Number 1, this is a cheap child's toy. It's a badge from the 1940s and was given away as a premium for kids who listened to the Royal Scots radio program. And you only needed to send in 3 cents for shipping, and about 3 months later, you would get this in the mail. So this is a kid's premium toy badge from the Royal Scots radio program in the 1940s. Number 2, this is a cap badge worn by the Royal Scots, which was the oldest and most senior infantry regiment of the British Army, and was formed in 1633 and existed continually until 2006. This particular piece, I believe, was from the 1940s or 50s, but it could be earlier. I'm not sure. So, number 2, it's a cap badge. Number 3, an ornate but cheap piece of costume jewelry that was sold by Avon in their men's collection from the 1960s. It was not a hot seller, and thus was on the market less than a year, making it a very limited collector's edition. So if you have one of these, tell me, did you get it from Avon or from where? All right, now let's move on to the bonus. Number 4. And this is an interesting one, and I'm not sure how I even spotted this because I dug this up. Believe it or not, I did. I dug it up. Or did I? Anyways, this piece is a real lead pencil from circa 1900s to 1920s. Or is it? Here's your first choice. This is a small marker used by carpenters back in the teens and 1920s, and it was used to make dark marks where the carpenter needed to cut. Today we have a pencil that has our chalk line that's blue. We also have these really thick odd-shaped pencils that you can mark on, but these came before any of that. Number 2, this is a black crayon from a very early Crayola set. Rather than crayons being waxy like they are now, and like they have been for a very long time, and the early ones were a very much harder substance, and the other early ones were made of lead to which a colorant had been added, so you could color with it. Probably not the vibrant colors that we have today in our Crayola sets, but it still was something that the children could enjoy. Number 3, this is remains of a lead pencil used again circa teens and 20s, and this would have been written, kids could have written on paper with this, or they might have even written on a slate board with this, but it is a lead pencil. There are traces of blue on it, which could be either from the Crayola colorant or the color the pencil was painted in the factory before it was sold. So, what do you think? And it's time for the big reveal. So, number 1, let me get back to where I was so I know what I'm doing. Number 1 is the Coke bottle. And you had 3 options, well, 4 actually. It's a World War II bottle without the embossing that saved glass for the war effort. It was a 1960s experimental Coke bottle that they painted the logo on instead of having it embossed in the glass. And this is quite simply an error bottle, which got past inspectors. So, what do you say? Is it one of those or not? And if you guessed Number 2, it's a 1960s Coca-Cola bottle, experimental bottle. You'd be right. This was an experimental bottle that they dropped the embossing and they painted the logo and words on it, and it wore off very, very quickly. So that's what that one is. And number 2 was what? The plastic deer and Indian figures. Now, again, I dug these up. Gil and I dug these up. They're very cool pieces. And if you guessed that these were from the Cracker Jacks candy or popcorn and nuts, you'd be 100% correct. These are Cracker Jack pieces. Thousands of them released over the years. When I was a kid in the 60s and early 70s, I loved Cracker Jacks, but it was more the prizes that I wanted than the actual sweet treat that was in it. So that's what those are. They are Cracker Jack toys. Number 3, we have the Royal Scots item. Now, if you guessed that this is a hat badge for the Royal Scots, you would be correct. It's a hat badge for the Royal Scots. Remember, the oldest infantry unit in the British Empire, and it existed until 2006, and it started in 1633. So that's actually a hat emblem. How it got here, it would be really fascinating to know the backstory on it. Okay, and number 4, the bonus piece, is this one. And if you guessed that this is a Crayola crayon that had color added to it, you would be 100% wrong. This is actually a lead pencil that children used in school back in the teens and early 20s and in that era, maybe even a little earlier than 1900. So that's what that is. All these pieces were dug pieces. The only one that I didn't dig was the Coke bottle. What I told you earlier, that it was dug by my sister's grandson, Braden, and my great nephew. Nice find, Braden. So all these pieces were dug pieces. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. You know what? After this, I'm putting on, please stay tuned, because I'm going to show you some of the goof ups that I made in trying to produce this video today. I got interrupted by everything you could think of to get interrupted by. So, great to have been back with you. I love you all very much on the other side of that monitor. God bless you, and I hope to see you here again real soon for another Can You Tell Me What It Is? And that'll be episode number 3 of season number 2. Love you. Bye-bye. Welcome back to Can You Tell Me What It Is? Welcome back to Can You Tell Me What It Is? This is and it is actually from Scottsbluff, Nevada. No, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, excuse me. If you live in Scottsbluff, I'm sorry, Nebraska, I'm sorry. This is from your town or city. All right, so let me give you 4, what these may be. One of them is the right answer. Which one do you all think it is? Now, this next one is not here. Where did I put it? Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I found it. One of my cats knocked this behind a bookcase. Is a cheap child's toy badge from the 1940s, and it was given away as a premium for kids who listened to the Royal Scots radio program. It was kind of a Scottish version of, who was that? I can't think of the dude's name now. He had a dog. Well, this is really embarrassing. Somebody of the Mounties. At any rate, starting this one over.